Welcome back to the Poughton House. Last time on our show you watched us tear out the frame rail on our 67 Project Mustang. So this time we installed the new frame rail, welded in place, installed the new strut bracket, well, old strut bracket, had to repair it first, and we had to mock up the suspension to get that thing aligned properly. So stay tuned and here we go. Alright, the front strut brackets. They've been a little bit of a source of a problem with alignment on this car. Reason being is I took all the measurements as to where it was going to land and purposely didn't disconnect it from everything until I got the frame in. What I found was that the two strut brackets weren't exactly in the same spot respectively per side. So the only way I can find to align this, I've looked into online as to where all the measurements were, and nothing matches because this is a 67 and apparently it's very different than 68 or a 66. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mock up the suspension loosely without the spring in it, set it level height, put the strut in, and align the strut bracket with the strut properly. And then I'm going to take my measurements again and make sure they correspond to where everybody believes they're supposed to be, because there's infinite amount of information on a Mustang. This is the one for the passenger side. Since it's out like this, I'm going to sandblast it, clean it up, and get it all ready to go back in. You can see I've already got it drilled because I was prepping to put it in, but now that I got it this far out, I might as well just blast it, clean it, paint it, make it look pretty again. So we'll be getting into that next. good now. A couple of those thin spots, found two more. I used the heat of the welder to burn them all the way through, and then reload them up with weld and grind them flat. They were just pock marks. Let's see if I could find a good one here. Well, you can see in here, I found a couple more pock marks of little rust spots that were forming that were a lot thinner than I thought they were. So, hit them, they blew right through, fill it back up, grind it, fit it, grind it down flush, we should be good to go. So, the next step of this, we'll give it one more hit through the blast cabinet, prime it. Or, you know what, we could just prime the outsides right now. Now we're going to hit it through the blast cabinet right there. Get all that off. And then she'll be ready to go on the car. Used a bit of acetone to spray down the piece so that way it you get all the dirt off from the blast cabinet. I should probably do the other side from here. I'll wait for that to dry. But you'd be surprised at how much junk you pick up from a blast cabinet. And yes, I know you're spraying effectively dirt on it. There you go. But if you go right from the blast cabinet, start painting, you're probably going to wind up with paint that don't stick. So mineral spirits works. I know a lot of guys out there like to use brake clean. I'm not a fan of doing that. Brake clean's too expensive. Okay. I'm going to focus mostly on doing the inside because that's going to be in the worst part of the environment under the car, so I'm going to worry about getting a good dab of paint in there, but I'm not going to paint the areas that I'm going to be welding, so we'll worry about those when the time comes. But everything else I can do now. What I'm using is a paint and primer. Said it before, I'll say it again. We're not making a show queen, we're making a driver. So I'm not worried about having the proper chassis black and proper markings and all that. I'm worried about protecting it and making it work. Okay. That looks pretty good for the moment. Again, I'm not going to paint the areas where I'm going to weld because I'll use the same paint to do the understructure when it's done. But I am going to put weld through primer on it so it is protected. But I'm going to let this dry up first. And that looks pretty good. When it dries, I'll flip it over. I'll get most of the other side done too. Now we're going to get finishing up on the front end of the car. Here we have the passenger side fender apron. We're on the outside of the car, outside the engine compartment. You can see from these spots here, I've already started welding this in place. Frame rail's welded in place, it's welded to the shock tower. Confirm the shock tower has not moved So it's exactly where it was when we pulled the car in. One thing I'm not happy about the fender apron is there's holes here for a cover that goes over the spring in the shock assembly. They're not drilled on this one. On the driver's side apron, they are drilled. Also, we've got these holes right here, which are not drilled. These are for the battery tray. And right here, this looks like a hole for the fuel line. I believe a 6-cylinder. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's for a fuel line that comes through. So, brake line's back here. So this guy, I'm not sure. I'm probably going to fill that so it looks kind of uniform. But this panel wasn't as good as I expected it to be. It fits structurally, but I got a lot of work to do to make it look better. Now, I'm not making a show car. I am making a driver, so it doesn't need to be exactly perfect, but I want to make it as good as I can. The other thing, the lower floor support down here, I had to patch this a few different ways. I got to still finish cleaning it up and painting it, but that's back together, that's strong. Then I got to start stripping this down. This is the original factory undercoating that was put on this car. This car was in Florida. I believe it led most of its life in Florida. So, the trick is to get that off. I'll go over that right now. Undercoating is always a pain in the butt. You can see it don't want to scrape off. If we take a sander and go on it, it just meshes around. It just turns to goo. So, I'm just going to take a MAP gas torch, heat it. You can already see it moving. And peel it right off. Now the reason I'm going to take all this off, just like that. So for anybody who wants to do that at home, that's how I'm doing it. Also, make sure any firewall insulation is out, any carpet is out, otherwise you can overheat this metal and catch your car on fire. We don't want to see you catch your car on fire. So we're going to clean all this off. This will get primed, painted. Once it's painted, it's going to be sprayed with undercoating again. I don't want this car rotting away on us, and make sure it stays together. Let me introduce Jake. Jake's new to the channel. He's a welder, mechanic, and just all around one of my best friends. So he's going he's going to give us a hand by continue the welding on the front end. He also brought over his bottle for our welder that we ran out of gas. So now we got gas, and the good kind.
The good kind.
So take it, Jake.
All right, so we're going to do a little bit of spot welding for some of these panels. You can see over here in this corner we got this clamp. That's the pan over there. But either way, we're going to get it welded up, get the front end of this ready to assemblies and such. You can bolt stuff on it instead of just looking at little sparkies. But yeah, here we go. So let's do some stuff.
today we had a good day. Jake stopped by with a bottle of gas. We got the welding completed on the car. Got the strut bracket cleaned up, ready to go back in. Now all we need to do is mock up the suspension and start putting that together. Okay, so it's been a few days, and we got the suspension hung, we got the strut bracket in place, lined up, and welded in. In this video you saw us weld in the rest of the tub and get everything pretty much buttoned up. So thanks again for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. Hit that notify button so you know when we got our next video coming out, and we'll see you again next time.